And Cyrenius loudly thanked the God of Israel that he had saved him with all those dear to him. When Jonathan heard that Cyrenius, whom he did not know at this time, praised the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he said, "My friend, now I am twice as glad that I have saved an Israelite in you, for I am also a son of Abraham." And Cyrenius responded, "I am not quite that, for I am in fact a Roman, but I still know the holiness of your God, and therefore acknowledge him alone." And Jonathan said, "That is still better. Tomorrow we will speak more about this, but for today go to rest. See, my huts are roomy and clean. I also have straw in great quantity, so make yourselves a resting place. In the meantime I shall take my boat out again to see whether your ship cannot be refloated." Cyrenius naturally objected. "Friend, tomorrow is time enough for that." But Jonathan answered, "Tomorrow is the Sabbath, when we rest from all menial labor, so everything must be put in order still before sunrise." Thereupon Jonathan with his helpers again entered the boat, and since the wind had diminished somewhat, sailed all the more quickly out to the ship of Cyrenius. He had little trouble in refloating it, for the flood tide of the sea, assisted by the full moon, made matters all the easier. Then Jonathan quickly seized the towing line, tied it to the boat, and with his helpers joyously rowed towards the fairly deep bight. Thus they brought the large ship into his safe harbor, where it was made fast to the shore by means of a very long rope, which was better for him than anchoring. After this undertaking, which required a good 2 hours, Jonathan went home while the morning had already become fairly bright, laid down on his couch, and with his helpers rested for 3 hours. Cyrenius and his company also rested and slept fairly long into the morning. When Jonathan awoke well refreshed, he honored and praised God in Joseph's child, and thought over what he had said to him. Then he told the woman to promptly butcher and roast about 30 of the choicest tuna for the many guests, and along with his helpers assisted the woman. In an hour the breakfast was prepared, and Jonathan went into the huts himself and awakened his rescued guests. When Cyrenius awoke and found himself wholly refreshed and in good spirits, he immediately asked Jonathan whether he had been able to save the ship. And Jonathan replied, "Arise and look out of this window." Cyrenius arose at once, looked outside, and beheld his great ship in the harbor quite well preserved. At this he was glad beyond measure, went over to the giant rescuer, and said in deep gratitude, "O friend, such a deed cannot be rewarded in an ordinary manner. Truly, I shall reward this deed in such a way as only an emperor can reward it." But Jonathan said, "Friend, let that be for now, and come to breakfast with the company." Here Cyrenius asked in great surprise, "What? You want to be our host also?" "Oh, you noble man! Once I find out from you where I am and who you are, then you shall also find out who I am, and a great reward shall be yours." Hereupon all arose from his resting places and followed Jonathan into the great hut where the breakfast already awaited the company, and all ate the well-prepared fish with great enjoyment, and greatly praised Jonathan. But Jonathan said, "Oh, do not praise me, for the real credit for all that belongs to someone else and not to me. I was only a coarse instrument of him who thus guided me and showed me in advance that I would have an important duty to perform during this past night. And so it was. I found you in great danger and was your rescuer, and that was the will of the Most High. I have fulfilled this holy will, and the realization that I have fulfilled the will of God out of love to him is my great reward. And were you an emperor, you could not give me a greater. Therefore I would also ask you to think of no other reward for me. Just put your big and stately ship in order again, and when I learn the place of your destination from you, I shall also assist you in that matter with word and deed." And Cyrenius replied, "Friend, that you shall promptly find out. See, my destination this time is Ostracine in Egypt, for I am a governor and the brother of the emperor. My name is Cyrenius Quirinius." At these words Jonathan fell down on his knees and asked for grace in case he had offended in any way. But just as Cyrenius wanted to raise up Jonathan, there came Joseph with his entire household to visit Jonathan, because he was so long in keeping his promise of coming back to Joseph's house. Chapter 181. Cyrenius comes to the right place. Now Joseph did not go directly into the hut, but sent in a messenger and had him notify Jonathan that he was there. Jonathan soon arose and said to Cyrenius, "Imperial Consular Highness, I again ask your forgiveness if I have offended you in anything by my well-meaning rudeness. For just as everything else is heavy about me, so also on occasion is my tongue. But now I must go out again, for my neighbor and highly honored friend has called on me today." Cyrenius replied, "O friend, my highly esteemed rescuer, do as you please, and do not consider me your debtor. I'm only going to put on some better clothes, whereupon I will promptly follow you myself." Jonathan now left Cyrenius and quickly went outside to receive Joseph. Joseph in the meantime went nearer to where the ship was made fast, so he could look at it more closely. Whereupon Jonathan hurried after Joseph and his company with them, and soon caught up with them. When the two had greeted each other, and Jonathan had taken the little child which had run to him upon his arms and caressed him, Joseph asked his big friend in great surprise, "But brother, tell me, where did you get that ship? Or did travelling guests arrive in it? Truly, that is a magnificent ship, the likes of which one sees arrive only from Rome." And Jonathan replied, "O friend, see, that is why I had to leave your villa even yesterday. A heavy gale ran a Roman ship aground on a sandbank outside the Bight yesterday. My efforts, by the grace of this your little child, succeeded in saving the ship from certain destruction. The rescued, numbering about 100, are still in my living quarters, which fortunately are roomy enough for them. And I think that they will depart today, since the place of their destination is luckily our city itself, as they told me. They still do not actually know where they are, for one must not tell the rescued that too soon. But when they make their departure, I shall pilot them out anyhow." Joseph now asked Jonathan whether the rescued did not say who and when they were. At this Jonathan answered, "You know that one must not tell tales out of school, for as long as the rescued have not departed, their names must not be revealed, since that could be injurious to them on a future journey." Here the little child said to Jonathan, "O man, you do indeed have a noble heart, in which there is no guile, but you are still richly endowed with many an old superstition. Just the same, it is better to be silent here than to speak, for the matter will clear itself up in a few moments anyhow." When the little child had said this, Cyrenius with his company stepped out the hut and went toward the ship, and thus stride toward the spot where Joseph was. On the way over, Cyrenius suddenly exclaimed to Talia, "Wife, just look over there! Is not the group over there with our rescuer altogether like the one on whose account we journeyed to Ostracine? By the living God, I have never seen anything like this. And look, our host right now has a little child on his arms who wholly resembles the Holy One that our heavenly friend has in Ostracine." Here the little child wanted to be put down, and when he was free, he at once ran toward the already closely approaching Cyrenius, and Cyrenius stood still and gazed at the towards him running little child very attentively. And the little child, when he was about 3 steps away from Cyrenius, called out, "Cyrenius! Cyrenius! My dear Cyrenius! See how I hurry towards you! Why do you not hurry towards me also?" Hereupon Cyrenius recognized the little child, immediately fell on his knees along with Talia, and actually shouted, "Oh my Lord, oh my God, who, just where am I that you, my God, my Creator, my life, you who alone are all in all to me, come to meet me in this strange place?" And the little child answered, "My dear Cyrenius, you are already in the right place, for where I am there is surely the right place for you. See, there comes Joseph and Mary and Eudokia, my brothers and the 8 children." Here Cyrenius declared, "O my life, this is too much happiness for me at one time." Thereupon he began to weep from happiness, and could not speak for his too sacred feelings.